He's like on my feet.
I know, he knows for that.
Do you know there's some treats up here? Burn before I get there. Cooking while I add some carrots. This is not working. He is in my way. And I lost count. I don't have any idea how many I've used. Pouring it all over the counter. Nice and messy. I'm good at messes. Welcome to my kitchen. Today we'll be making broccoli cheese soup. Let's get started. Hello. So I'm gonna start by sauteing some onion. Little avocado oil in the bottom of my pan, 1 diced yellow onion. Got it over a medium heat here. Just gonna give that a minute to start doing its magic. Oh, there, I hear it. Paris, you're right where I want to stand. He's like on my feet.
I know, he knows for that.
Do you know there's some treats up here? Along with my onion, I have about a cup of diced carrot. And I'm just gonna saute those until they are soft. All right, so while my vegetables are cooking, I'm going to make my version of cream of chicken soup. So cream of chicken soup in the can has both gluten and dairy in it. Even the gluten-free one has dairy, so I'm making my own. So with this, turn on my burner here. Ooh. And I'm going to melt 1/4 of a cup. Harris, you are in my way. 1/4 of a cup of non-dairy butter. Wildlife is the brand I am using. Once my butter is melted, I'm going to add in 1/4 of a cup of flour to my butter, not to my vegetables. It's gonna burn before I get there. This is just my basic flour blend going in with the butter, and I'm going to mix it as I go so that it doesn't burn and gets all mixed in and not clumpy. Whisk it, whisk it. And then give it just a minute to keep cooking while I add some Harris. This is not working. He is in my way. He wants to be under my feet. All right, so I'm adding, these are pretty big cloves of garlic, so probably 2 cloves of garlic, but I'm just gonna do 1 because this one is so big. Ours is they're extra spicy. All right, so there's my butter all melty and toasty. And then turn both of these off. See, this is what happens when I try to multitask. So I want my flour and butter to be all bubbly and start to be a little bit toasty. That's what gives it some flavor. And to that, I'm going to add some chicken broth. So I don't happen to have any chicken broth in my cupboard right now, so I'm going to use chicken bouillon to make my own chicken broth. For this whole entire recipe, I'm gonna need a total of 6 cups of chicken broth, so I'm gonna go ahead and mix that up now. I am using Herbox brand, Herbox. It is gluten-free, dairy-free, and for me, yeast-free. It's about 1 teaspoon per cup of water. I go a little heavier than that just because I like a more intense flavor. You can use chicken broth or chicken stock in this recipe. Chicken, the difference is the way that they're made. I think that chicken stock has a little more flavor. So if given the option, I would probably choose that. And I lost count. I don't have any idea how many I've used. Not a clue. So to my flour and butter here, I'm going to add about a cup of my chicken broth. And I'm going to whisk as I do it so that it doesn't clump. And I'm pouring it all over the counter. All right, so that is nice and thick. And I'm just gonna turn off the burner here until I'm ready for it. Okay, so in with my carrots, onions, and garlic, haha.
All right, Harris, come on. Come on, dude. You gotta get out of the kitchen.
Okay, so to my pan with onion, carrot, and garlic, I'm going to add my head of chopped broccoli. This is about 2 cups of broccoli. And I chop it up into bite-sized pieces. I do puree it a little bit, but I do like some chunks of broccoli in my soup, so I put it in bite-sized pieces so that it's ready to go. And then I'm also going to add all but 1 cup of the remaining broth here. Just gonna stir that so it's all, the broccoli's down in the broth. So I'm gonna let that come to a boil and cook my broccoli. And while my broccoli's cooking, I'm going to make the creamy part of the soup. So because we are gluten-free and dairy-free, I need something other than just my cream of chicken here to make my soup creamy. I don't know about you, but most dairy-free cheeses kind of have a flavor of their own that I don't really want in my broccoli cheese soup. I am going to use some non-dairy cheese to get that cheddar flavor, but the creaminess needs to come from somewhere else. So I'm using cashews. In our house, this is not low salt, and it does contain cashews, which, you know, one child can't have, but it's not going to be here, and I'm not going to share my broccoli cheese soup with the low sodium. This could easily be made low sodium if you use an unsalted chicken broth. I didn't have one in my cupboard, so today we're using chicken bouillon, which is very high in sodium, but it could easily be made low sodium. Okay, so in my high-speed mixer, I am going to put 1 cup of raw cashews. So this is the unsalted, unroasted kind. And my last cup of broth. So this could also be made completely plant-based if you chose to use the vegetable stock. I have not yet found a vegetable stock that does not contain yeast, which is why I'm using the chicken stock. But before I knew about avoiding yeast for me, I made it that way regularly. So, cup of cashews, cup of broth, turn it on, make it creamy. I'm just gonna check. I don't want to stick my face over it because it will jump at me. Oh yeah, that looks creamy. Nice and creamy. So alternately, if you didn't want to make the cream of chicken, which I like the flavor doing it this way, but another option for making this creamy would be to, at this point when I add the broccoli, I would add about 2 potatoes peeled and diced so they would cook faster, which would give it that creamy texture if you wanted to avoid this step. But we have somebody in our household who does not eat potatoes who will be sharing this soup with me, so I am leaving out the potato. So I've cooked my vegetables until my broccoli is tender. I'm going to add a little bit of pepper, grinder, and then I'm gonna turn down my heat low and add in my blended up creamy cashews. And the cream of chicken soup. Stir till combined. Now this would be a perfectly good soup as it is, but I like it a little creamier. So I'm going to add about half of my soup back into my blender to puree it. If you had an immersion blender, you could use that here as well. I just want to break up some of these chunks of broccoli. Like I said, I like some chunks, just doesn't need to be all chunks. So I want about half of my soup chunky and half of it I'm going to puree. Nice and messy. I'm good at messes. And because the top is open, is very messy. Here goes. Make sure and keep stirring my soup so it doesn't burn to the bottom while I'm, all right, back in.
Oh!
Now it's the color you expect from a broccoli soup. Okay, so once this comes back up to a boil, I have seen it pop a little bit, so just waiting to make sure, yeah. I'm going to add some non-dairy cheese. So I'm using Life again, the cheddar cheese shreds, and I'm gonna use about a cup, which is about half of a package. So if I was to pour this all in at once, it would turn into a clump. So I'm going to do about a handful at a time to sprinkle it over the top and mix it until it melts. So I'm just gonna take my time. This is one of those, don't get impatient for it to melt. So just gonna sprinkle it over the top and stir until it melts. All right, now that my cheese is mixed in, it's time for the secret ingredient. Nutmeg. Just a little bit of nutmeg, like a 1/4 of a teaspoon. All right, I'm all ready for tasting. All right, ready for my taste test. Warm and creamy comfort food. Hot. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye. Well, he's like on my feet.
I know, he knows where.
Do you know there's some treats up here? It's gonna burn before I get there. Cooking while I add some, Harris, this is not working. He is in my way. And I lost count. I don't have any idea how many I've used. And I'm pouring it all over the counter. Nice and messy. I'm good at messes. Okay, this week on No Gluten, No Whey, broccoli cheese soup.